My beloved brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sometimes your home feels heavy. You walk in and instead of peace, you feel pressure. Instead of warmth, there's coldness. Not the kind the air conditioner gives, but the kind that settles in the heart. And you begin to wonder, what's going on here? Let me tell you something. The evil eye al-Ain is real. It's not some ancient myth. It's not superstition. The Prophet Muhammad said, the evil eye is real. If anything were to overtake the divine decree, it would be the evil eye. Sahih Muslim, but you know what's interesting. When the evil eye touches a home, it's not always loud. It doesn't knock on the door with a bang. It creeps in silently, subtly. Let's talk about 5 subtle signs that the evil eye may have touched your home. 1. Sudden, unexplained tension in the home. You used to laugh with each other, sit and talk. Now, even the smallest word causes an argument. You feel like everyone is walking on eggshells. You begin to avoid each other. Is it normal? Maybe, but if it becomes frequent and unnatural, check yourself. Check your home too. Strange breakages or losses. You keep losing things. Your electronics stop working. Dishes break. Lights flicker. Once or twice, no problem. But if it keeps happening in strange patterns without explanation, it's worth reflecting. Especially if it begins after a visit or a post on social media. 3. Financial blessings start slipping away. The money is the same, but the barakah is gone. You earn well, but nothing lasts. Bills increase. Unexpected costs appear, and you sit down at night, wondering where it all went. The evil eye doesn't take your money, it removes the blessings from it. 4. Unusual sickness and emotional distress. One after another falls sick. Doctors say nothing is wrong, but the fatigue is real, the sadness is real, motivation for salah is gone, Quran feels heavy, subhanallah. These are not always medical. Sometimes they are spiritual illnesses in disguise. 5. Fatigue and spiritual heaviness. You wake up tired. You walk around with a cloud over your head. Your home feels darker, not physically but spiritually. You try to pray, but your mind runs away. You want to improve, but something holds you back. This could be a sign. Now pause, don't panic, don't become paranoid. The first thing we must do is turn to Allah. Before blaming the outside, check the inside. Are there sins in the home? Music playing all day? Gossip in the kitchen? Pictures that should not be on the wall? The evil eye only affects by Allah's permission, and that means the cure also comes from Him. How to protect and heal your home too? He'd clean your heart. Depend only on Allah. Ruqyah Shari. You recite Surah Al-Fatiha, Al-Baqarah, Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq and An-Nas regularly. Morning and evening, adhkar your spiritual shield. Avoid showing off blessings unnecessarily. Don't expose your life to every eye on social media. Remove jealousy from your own heart. The evil eye can come even from those you love. Say Masha'Allah. When you see something beautiful, train your tongue to bless, not harm. My beloved brothers and sisters, your home can be full of light again. But the switch is not on the wall, it's in your heart. Turn it on with the Quran. Let Dhikr echo through your living room. Let Salah become louder than the television. The evil eye is real, but it is weak compared to the mercy of Allah. So say, A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan irajim. Say, Hasbi Allah, hu la ilaha illa huwa. And say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Because the one who protects the throne of the heavens can surely protect your home. The evil eye, known in Arabic as al-Ain, is a reality confirmed by both the Quran and the Sunnah. It refers to the harm that can befall a person, object, or even a place as a result of someone looking at it with envy, jealousy, or intense admiration, without invoking the name of Allah. This harmful gaze can come intentionally or unintentionally, even from someone who loves you and even from yourself. It is not simply superstition or folklore. It is a spiritual illness with real consequences. The Prophet Muhammad explicitly stated, the evil eye is real, Sahih Muslim, and he would seek protection from it regularly. In fact, in Sahih Bukhari, it is narrated that the Prophet saw a girl in the house of Salama with a visible mark on her face and said, seek Ruqyah for her, for she has been afflicted by the evil eye. Allah also teaches us to seek refuge from this danger in the Quran. Surah Al-Falaq ends with, and from the evil of the envier when he envies, Quran 113:5. This is a divine recognition of the destructive force that envy can carry when it escapes the heart and is projected through the gaze. It's important to understand that the evil eye doesn't mean someone has magical powers. Rather, it is a real but unseen energy that can transfer through admiration without remembrance of Allah. It is like a spiritual arrow released from the heart and eye of the envious person. If it finds a vulnerable target, it harms by Allah's will. If the person is protected through faith, remembrance, and spiritual safeguards, the arrow misses or is deflected. This is why Islam emphasizes saying, Masha Allah, when admiring something, and maintaining modesty and privacy with blessings. Not everything beautiful should be broadcast to the world. Not every success should be shared openly. Because sometimes the eyes watching are not filled with love, but with hidden fire. So the evil eye is not a myth to be scoffed at, nor is it something to obsess over. It is a test, a reminder, and a call to protect our hearts with Dhikr, and our homes with taqwa. It is real, but so is the protection of Allah. Many people today, influenced by modern skepticism or materialistic thinking, dismiss the concept of the evil eye as superstition. They reduce it to old wives' tales or cultural myths passed down through generations. But in Islam, the evil eye is not based on folklore or exaggerated fear. It is a truth affirmed by the Prophet and the Quran itself. When we speak about the evil eye, we are not talking about baseless beliefs. We are talking about a spiritual reality that has tangible effects, even if it cannot be seen with the naked eye. The Messenger of Allah did not speak from his own desires. He said clearly, the evil eye is real. And this statement has been authentically reported in multiple hadith collections, including Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. If it were mere superstition, would the Prophet sent as a mercy and a guide warn us about it so directly and frequently? Would he have taken the time to seek refuge from it and teach his companions to do the same? There's a reason he included the evil eye in the daily prophetic practices of protection. There's a reason why verses like Surah Al-Falaq were revealed, to shield the believer from the hidden harms that cannot be defended against with swords or walls. The evil eye doesn't leave bruises on the skin, but it can bruise the soul, disturb the heart, and bring about destruction where there was once harmony. Just because something is unseen does not mean it is unreal. We believe in angels, in jinn, in the day of judgment, all of which are part of the unseen gaib. The evil eye falls into that same category. Its effects can manifest in the physical world, through illness, misfortune, conflict, or a sudden loss of blessings, but its source is spiritual. To deny the evil eye under the pretense of modern thinking is to subtly deny the wisdom of divine revelation. Islam teaches us to strike a balance, not to obsess over the evil eye, but also not to dismiss it. Ignoring it leaves us unprotected. Obsessing over it leads to paranoia. But acknowledging its reality with a heart grounded in Tawheed and taking the spiritual precautions taught by the Prophet, this is the way of the believer. So no, it's not superstition, it is a spiritual truth, and the sooner we accept it, the sooner we can protect ourselves and our homes with the tools our religion has mercifully provided. One of the most dangerous aspects of the evil eye is how quietly it operates. It doesn't always arrive with thunder and lightning. It doesn't announce itself with dramatic events or supernatural displays. Often, it seeps into a person's life or home without being noticed. That's why so many people ignore the signs. They attribute them to bad luck, coincidence, or stress. But not everything that looks ordinary is truly harmless. Sometimes the harm is hidden in plain sight, and that's exactly how the evil eye works. People might think, if it were the evil eye, I would know. There would be something obvious. But in reality, the evil eye often reveals itself through subtle disturbances, things that don't quite feel right, but are not severe enough to raise alarm. A household that was once peaceful starts to feel heavy. The family members begin to argue over small issues. Children become more restless. You feel an uneasiness that's hard to explain. These are not just mood swings or bad days. They can be spiritual indicators that something deeper is affecting your space. Sometimes you'll notice sudden failures in things that were previously stable. A business that was thriving suddenly begins to collapse. A marriage that was full of love turns cold overnight. Health begins to deteriorate, but doctors can't find a cause. When such things begin to happen in clusters without logical explanation, it's important not to dismiss them. The believer is encouraged to reflect and to recognize that not all harm comes from the physical world. The subtlety of the evil eye is what makes it dangerous, because when people don't recognize it, they don't treat it. They look for worldly solutions to spiritual problems, and in doing so, they remain stuck. They keep changing routines, shifting blame, and searching for answers in all the wrong places. What they need is to pause, look inward, and turn back to Allah. Our religion teaches us awareness. It teaches us to connect what we see to what we don't see. If you begin to feel like things are constantly slipping through your hands, or that peace is escaping you without cause, don't rush to panic, but don't ignore it either. Ignoring subtle signs is like hearing a fire alarm and deciding it's probably nothing. By the time the flames are visible, the damage is often done. So learn to recognize the quiet whispers of spiritual imbalance. Be aware, be proactive, and most importantly, be connected to the one who sees what you cannot. A peaceful home is one of the greatest blessings Allah can give. It's where hearts rest, where love grows, and where souls recharge after the trials of the outside world. But when the evil eye enters a home, one of the first things it steals is that peace. Suddenly, a calm and loving environment becomes tense. Family members who once laughed together now struggle to have a simple conversation without irritation or argument. The warmth begins to fade, and no one can quite explain why. It often starts with small things. A harmless comment turns into an argument. Patience becomes short. Silence becomes heavy. You walk into the house and feel uneasy. There's no reason you can point to, but something is off. The energy has shifted. What used to feel like a refuge now feels like a burden, and the strange part is, no major event caused it. There was no trauma, no crisis, just a slow, creeping tension that now fills the air. This isn't always from personality clashes or stress. Yes, those things happen, but when it becomes persistent, when every day feels like walking through a storm of irritation, it's time to consider the unseen. The evil eye can create emotional and psychological agitation. It can turn hearts cold toward each other, replacing affection with indifference, and replacing unity with division. Its goal is to break what was once whole, to steal the comfort and harmony that make a house a home. Sometimes even the smallest disagreements begin to escalate for no clear reason. A husband and wife who used to work as a team begin to misunderstand each other constantly. Parents and children argue over things that once would have been brushed off. Even when you try to make peace, it feels like there's a wall, an invisible barrier preventing understanding and compassion. The believer must recognize this pattern. If these changes come suddenly, without reason, and persist no matter how hard you try to fix them, then it could be a spiritual disturbance. That is the time to increase in Dhikr, to bring the Quran back into the heart of the home, and to seek protection through Ruqyah and sincere dua. Because when Allah places tranquility sakina in a home, no one can take it away, except by His permission, and when that tranquility is removed, only He can bring it back. So don't just treat the symptoms. Don't just tell people to calm down or get over it. Look deeper, strengthen your connection with Allah, cleanse the spiritual air of the home with His words, because when hearts are protected by remembrance, even the darkest tension will eventually lift. Sometimes one of the most overlooked signs of the evil eye is the repeated loss or breakage of things in the home without any logical explanation. You drop a glass once, no problem. The microwave stops working after years of use. Understandable. But when these incidents become frequent, unprovoked, and oddly timed, it may be more than just coincidence. You begin to notice a pattern. Your phone slips from your hand 3 times in a week. The car suddenly has issue after issue, despite recent servicing. Appliances that were perfectly fine begin to malfunction without warning. Things you rely on, whether tools, electronics, or valuable items, start to disappear or break in strange and frustrating ways. Even new items don't last. There's no clear cause, no accident, no misuse, just constant disruption. This pattern often points to a loss of barakah, the blessing that makes things last, function smoothly, and serve their purpose. When the evil eye touches a home, it doesn't just cause tension. It begins to erode the small things that make life flow easily. You find yourself replacing the same things over and over, wasting time, money, and mental energy. And still, it keeps happening. In many cases, this kind of disturbance begins after someone visits the home or after you publicly share your blessings, perhaps a home renovation, a new car, or a prized possession. Without realizing it, the eye of envy may have fallen upon something that brought you joy, and without the person saying, Masha Allah, or invoking Allah's name, harm was transmitted through their gaze, even if unintentionally. This doesn't mean every broken item is a result of the evil eye, but when the pattern becomes repetitive, excessive, and accompanied by other signs, like emotional tension or spiritual heaviness, it's time to take it seriously. It's a quiet sign, but a powerful one, because when a home is spiritually protected, even fragile things are kept safe. But when that protection is missing, even the sturdiest things seem to fall apart. This is why we must constantly seek protection from Allah. Before using something new, say Bismillah. When admiring what you or someone else owns, say Masha Allah, la quwwata illa billah. Don't take stability for granted. The evil eye can remove ease from your life, one broken piece at a time. But with Allah's help, you can restore what was lost and protect what remains. One of the more hidden but deeply felt effects of the evil eye is a sudden and unexplained drain on finances. It's not always about losing a job or facing a major crisis. Sometimes the income is still there, the salary hasn't changed, the business is still running, but the money seems to vanish. What used to be enough is no longer sufficient. Expenses begin to pile up without warning. Unexpected costs appear out of nowhere. You find yourself struggling to make ends meet, even though nothing in your external situation has shifted drastically. This isn't always just poor budgeting or economic hardship. When the barakah, the divine blessing, is removed from wealth, the money becomes like water slipping through your fingers. You can't seem to hold on to it. One day it's a broken pipe. The next, it's an overdue bill you forgot existed. Then it's medical costs or random fees or lost items that need replacing, and it doesn't stop. It feels like no matter how much you try to save or plan, something always comes to take it away. The evil eye can affect wealth not by taking the money itself, but by removing the blessing that makes it stretch, serve you, and bring you peace. And often, this happens after someone admires your success or your lifestyle without remembering Allah. It could be after a social media post showing your new purchase, your renovated home, or your growing business. Even a compliment, when not accompanied by the remembrance of Allah, can become a spiritual arrow, sent unintentionally, but hitting its mark all the same. What makes this sign so subtle is that it often hides behind real-world explanations. You tell yourself, I just have more responsibilities now, or it's just an expensive season, but deep down, something feels off. The numbers don't add up. You're working harder, earning more, but achieving less. That sense of unseen depletion is a sign worth paying attention to. This is why Islam teaches us to always connect our wealth to our worship. Begin your transactions with Bismillah. Give sadaqah regularly, even if it's small. Say Masha Allah when you notice a blessing in your life or someone else's. And remember, true wealth is not measured by how much you earn, but by how much peace and blessing that earning brings into your life. If the evil eye has affected your financial well-being, then the solution isn't just a tighter budget. It's spiritual protection, sincere dua, and returning to the one who gives and takes with perfect wisdom. Another subtle but serious sign that the evil eye may have touched your home is the sudden appearance of emotional or physical sickness spreading among family members without a clear medical explanation. One person starts feeling unusually fatigued, then another begins to experience constant headaches, then someone else complains of body pain or restless sleep. Over time, it becomes a pattern. You visit doctors, you take medication, but the symptoms either persist or shift from one person to another. The home begins to feel heavy, not just in atmosphere, but in energy. It's not always dramatic. It's not always about a major illness. Sometimes it's a lingering sadness, a sense of emotional numbness, or an increase in anxiety or depression among people who were once content and active. You notice that people in the home feel constantly drained, low in motivation, irritated, or unusually withdrawn. Children who were once playful now seem moody or afraid. Adults find it difficult to concentrate, sleep peacefully, or feel a sense of emotional stability. While it's essential to seek medical advice for any health concern, it's also important not to ignore the spiritual component. The evil eye can manifest as both emotional imbalance and physical discomfort. It attacks the well-being of a person not just on the surface, but from within, clouding the mind, weakening the spirit, and even opening the door to further spiritual vulnerability. When multiple family members experience such symptoms without a common cause, especially if these issues started suddenly or after someone admired the family's happiness or health, it may be a sign of an unseen harm. This is not meant to create fear, but awareness. A believer understands that not all sickness is purely physical. The soul, too, can be afflicted, and when the heart is unguarded, the body may show the signs. This is why the Prophet taught us to seek protection through daily adhkar, to read Surah Al-Falaq and An-Nas, and to perform Ruqyah over ourselves and our loved ones. If emotional or physical illness is spreading through your home with no clear explanation, don't just ask, "What's going wrong?" Ask, "What have we stopped doing? Have we reduced our remembrance of Allah? Have we become too open with sharing our blessings? Have we invited people into our lives without spiritual protection?" The answers are not always immediate, but the path forward is clear. Return to Allah, protect your home with the light of Quran, and trust that healing, true, complete healing, comes only from the one who created both the illness and the cure. One of the quietest, yet most telling signs that the evil eye may have touched your home is the persistent feeling of fatigue and spiritual heaviness, not linked to physical exertion or clear emotional stress. It's that deep exhaustion that rests not in the body but in the soul. You wake up tired even after a full night's sleep. The simplest tasks feel overwhelming. You find yourself dragging through the day, lacking energy, clarity, and motivation. Nothing is physically wrong, but everything feels heavy. This fatigue is not the normal tiredness of life. It's the kind that weighs down your thoughts, that clouds your heart, and that steals the lightness from your spirit. The things that used to bring joy begin to feel like burdens. Acts of worship become harder. The Quran sits closed on the shelf more often. Prayers are delayed, rushed, or feel empty, and you don't know why. You want to reconnect with Allah, but something feels like it's pulling you away, like a barrier has been placed between you and the peace you used to feel. This is the kind of spiritual heaviness that doesn't just affect the individual, it lingers in the home. The atmosphere begins to feel dull, lifeless, or tense, even when everything on the surface looks normal. Guests may visit and comment that the home feels quiet or different, and children may become restless or clingy for no clear reason. It's as if something unseen is draining the light from the space. The evil eye works in this way. It doesn't always strike with noise. Sometimes it simply removes barakah, peace, and vitality. It replaces spiritual presence with spiritual fog. And what makes this sign so dangerous is that many people simply accept it as normal. They say, "I'm just busy," or "maybe I'm burned out." And while those may be part of the reality, it is wise for a believer to also consider the unseen causes, especially when this fatigue persists and affects multiple people in the household. Protection begins with awareness. When the soul is tired, nourish it with Quran. When the home feels heavy, fill it with the remembrance of Allah. Play Surah Al-Baqarah, make Dhikr aloud in every room. Do not let your home become spiritually silent, because that silence is often what invites the darkness in. So if you feel a constant tiredness that has no cause, and your heart feels distant from worship without knowing why, don't ignore it, don't normalize it. Take action, reconnect, revive your home with the light of Allah's words, because the evil eye may bring heaviness, but the remembrance of Allah brings light that no darkness can resist. Sometimes when things start going wrong in our lives or homes, when we feel a sudden shift, when blessings disappear, when tension and hardship arise, our first thought might be, someone gave us the evil eye. And while it's true that the evil eye is real and can have powerful effects, we must be careful not to attribute every hardship to it. A believer is taught to look at both the external harms and the internal truths. Yes, it could be the evil eye, but it could also be the result of our own sins. Hardship, loss, and disruption can be a test from Allah, or they can be a consequence of what our own hands have earned. Sometimes the unrest in our homes is a mirror, showing us what we need to fix in ourselves. It's easy to blame others for our struggles, but much harder to admit when we've allowed distance to grow between us and our Creator. Have we neglected our prayers? Have we filled our homes with music and heedlessness instead of Quran and remembrance? Have we given too much attention to the dunya and forgotten the rights of Allah? Sin brings darkness. It removes barakah, it invites anxiety, and it opens the doors for shaitan to walk through. And when we persist in sin without repentance, our spiritual defenses weaken. That's when the evil eye, and many other harms, can more easily take hold. A heart already distant from Allah is more vulnerable than one that is constantly returning to Him. That's why self-reflection is key. Before pointing the finger outward, pause and ask yourself, am I living in a way that attracts Allah's protection? Or have I allowed habits into my life that are pushing that protection away? Because no amount of Ruqyah or protective dua will be fully effective if we are actively disobeying the one we're seeking help from. This is not about blame, it's about responsibility. It's about recognizing that spiritual cleanliness is part of our protection. When we cleanse our homes of sins, whether that's backbiting, arrogance, negligence in worship, or exposure to haram, we make space for light to enter. We strengthen the shield that guards us from harm. So yes, consider the evil eye, don't dismiss it, but also consider your own actions. The greatest protection from harm is not just reciting words. It's living a life that is pleasing to the one who controls all things. Because when Allah is with you, no eye can harm you, no envy can touch you, and no darkness can remain. The cure for the evil eye is not a mystery, nor is it something hidden in distant places or locked behind rituals we don't understand. The cure is real, and it begins where every solution in Islam begins, with sincere Tawheed, the pure and unwavering belief in the oneness of Allah. Because when you truly believe that only Allah has the power to harm or benefit, only He can protect and heal, your heart begins to find clarity and your path forward becomes clear. Many people search for complicated answers when afflicted. They run from person to person asking for help, seeking out exotic remedies, or even turning to questionable practices. But the reality is simple. Nothing can cure except what Allah has allowed, and no protection is greater than the one rooted in His remembrance and obedience. When the evil eye strikes, the first thing we must do is realign our hearts. We stop relying on people and we return to full reliance on the Creator. Tawheed isn't just a belief, it's a shield. When you internalize it, you no longer fear the evil eye because you know Allah is greater. You no longer feel helpless because you know the healer is near. And from that conviction, you begin to apply the prophetic remedies. You commit to regular Ruqyah, the practice of reciting Quranic verses and du'as for healing and protection. You read Surah Al-Falaq and Nas and Ayat Al-Kursi. You recite the morning and evening adhkar not as a routine, but with presence and belief. You blow over yourself and your children with the words of Allah, trusting in their power. The cure also involves practical changes. Remove from your home anything that invites spiritual weakness. Turn down the noise of heedlessness and raise the voice of the Quran. Cleanse the space with remembrance, with charity, and with sincere repentance. Begin each day with Bismillah and end each night seeking forgiveness. Make dua with humility and desperation, not just during hardship, but constantly, because consistency brings divine protection. Know this, the evil eye may be strong, but your Lord is stronger. The harm may be subtle, but Allah's cure is clear, and the one who holds tightly to Tawheed, who builds their life on Allah's names, words, and mercy, will always find healing, even if the journey is slow. Because Allah never turns away a heart that turns to Him, so take the first step, not in fear, but in faith. The cure is not only real, it is near. Healing from the evil eye and protecting your home isn't just about knowing what's wrong. It's about taking action rooted in faith. Islam doesn't leave us helpless. The Prophet gave us clear, practical steps to protect ourselves and our families, and they begin with turning back to Allah through Ruqyah, Dhikr, and something many forget, purifying our own hearts from envy. Ruqyah is not some complicated ritual. It's simply the recitation of specific verses and supplications for healing and protection, done with sincerity and belief. Verses like Surah Al-Fatiha, Ayat Al-Kursi, and the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, along with Surah Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq, and An-Nas, are part of this powerful remedy. Recite them over yourself, your children, and your home. Blow into your hands and wipe your body. Play Surah Al-Baqarah in the house regularly. It is a fortress against the shayateen, and no evil eye can remain where it is consistently recited. Alongside Ruqyah, never underestimate the power of dua. Speak to Allah in your own words. Ask Him to remove harm, to heal your heart and home, to shield your loved ones from jealousy and hatred. Make dua in the early morning, in the last third of the night, between the adhan and iqamah, and after your obligatory prayers. The one who calls on Allah consistently will never be left without a response, though it may come in ways we don't immediately see. Dhikr, the constant remembrance of Allah, is your daily armor. Simple phrases like Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, and Has, by Allah, who La ilaha illa huwa, are powerful beyond measure. Reciting morning and evening, adhkar should be a non-negotiable part of your day. They protect, heal, and strengthen the soul. They build a spiritual wall around your life that envy and harm struggle to penetrate. But perhaps one of the most overlooked steps in protection is purifying your own heart from envy. Many seek refuge from the evil eye, yet unknowingly cast it on others through jealousy or unspoken resentment. True healing begins when we recognize the danger of envy not only as something we fear from others, but something we must also remove from ourselves. When you see a blessing in someone's life, say MashaAllah, pray for their continued good, and remind yourself that Allah's blessings are endless. What He gives others does not reduce what He can give you. If we want our homes to be safe, our hearts must be clean. If we want protection from envy, we must not carry it within us. That sincerity, combined with consistent worship and trust in Allah, is what brings lasting peace. So act, don't wait. Begin with the Quran, hold fast to dua, remember Allah often, and free your heart from envy. Because when you live in remembrance, your home becomes a place the evil eye cannot settle. Your home doesn't have to remain heavy, tense, or spiritually dim. The unease, the unexplained difficulties, the emotional weight, they're not permanent. But the path to restoring light and peace begins with one essential truth. Turn back to Allah first. He is the one who protects, the one who heals, and the one who brings peace where chaos once lived. No matter how deep the harm has settled, the mercy of Allah is deeper. No matter how much has been lost, Allah can return better, in ways you never imagined. Don't let fear of the evil eye consume you. Let it awaken you. Let it push you back into the arms of your Creator. Because when you fill your home with the remembrance of Allah, you close the doors that once allowed darkness in. When you cleanse your environment of sins and invite in Quran, Dua, and sincerity, you create a space where blessings can once again grow. The home that feels broken today can be whole again. The hearts that feel drained can be renewed. But it starts with humility, acknowledging where we've fallen short, and trusting in Allah's ability to restore. Take the steps, both spiritual and practical. Recite, remember, repent, and reconnect. Choose light over neglect. Because the home that remembers Allah is not only protected, it becomes a place where angels dwell, where peace flows, and where even the smallest acts are filled with barakah. Your home can be that space. The choice is yours. Return to Him sincerely, and you'll find that healing was never far away. It was just waiting for you to open the door. In the end, the evil eye is real, but so is the protection and healing that Allah offers to those who seek Him sincerely. The subtle signs: tension in the home, unexplained losses, financial drain, illness, fatigue are not to be ignored, but neither are they reasons to panic. They are reminders to pause, reflect, and realign our lives with the teachings of our faith. Before blaming external harm, we must examine our own actions, our connection with Allah, and the spiritual state of our homes. The cure begins not with fear, but with Tawheed, believing that only Allah can protect and provide. Through Ruqyah, Dua, Dhikr, and by purifying our hearts from envy, we fortify our homes with light and drive out the shadows of harm. This is not superstition, it is part of our deen, and this path to healing is not complicated, it is consistent. It is rooted in sincerity, daily remembrance, and turning back to the one who never turns us away. So if you've seen the signs, if you've felt the weight, know that you are not helpless. Your home can shine again. Your heart can find ease, but it all begins with one step: returning to Allah with sincerity and trusting in His mercy more than you fear any harm. Let your home be a place of Dhikr, not distress. Let it echo with Quran, not conflict. And know that when Allah is with you, nothing, seen or unseen, can ever overpower you. May Allah bless your homes with light, peace, and protection. Ameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.